What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a longtime assistant coach, and when I say long time, anytime you've been in the business and it's over 10 years now of coaching, you're a long-time assistant. He's also a former college and professional standout. We'll get into that in his bio. And he's a Boston Lake, New York native. So he's actually closer to home now with his current job, Antoni Wyche. Now, you won't hear me say Antoni the rest of the show. It's, we all call him Tone. So, when you hear that name, we're still talking about the same individual. Well, Tone was like I said, outstanding player or standout player at Notre Dame. We played for John McLeod for 4 years, from 1995 to 1999. After he was done, he played professionally for 10 years, and he played in different countries, different stops, had an outstanding professional career. And then once he finished playing, I think he had a serious injury. He was done playing. He decided, he came back, and I'm not sure he ended up going to Lehigh University, where he was there for 10 years with Dr. Brett Reed. So that's where I first met him. We had a few battles for 3 years when I was at American University. I can tell you, he actually won more games than he lost against us. So he had an outstanding team. He had an outstanding player. I'm sure we'll bring up his name later on during this telecast. And then from there, after 10 years with Dr. Brett Reed and all the success they had, he moved a little bit closer to home, where he's at Siena presently. He spent the year one up in Siena. He already headed to year two with Carmen Marciello, a guy he had a relationship probably more than 20 years, going back. So he had a chance to go back home, and he's coaching, close to his family. So I want to say welcome to the show, Tony.
Appreciate you having me, Mar, man. Great platform you got here, and just excited to be a part of it, man.
Well, man, you know what? Let's go right into it, man. Let's get unmasked. You stepped right from being a professional basketball player. You was at the highest level, being at Notre Dame. And then now you go into college coaching with Dr. Brett Reed. There's no handbook to being a college coach. Tell me about your first day, the first week, first month, or after things are done with human resources and orientation, especially when no one gives you direction in this business. Tell me what that was like.
You know what? It was a whirlwind. I was very fortunate. To backtrack a little bit, when I was coming out of college, in my exit interview, I sat down in Coach McLeod's office, and I sat with him, and he was asking me about my ambitions, and I told him, wanted to play professionally, and he said, do you have any interest in coaching? I looked him dead in his face, and I was like, nope, no way in hell I'll ever be a coach. I don't even know why y'all do it. So I said, he looked me in my face, he said, you're gonna play this game, you're gonna make some money, and I'll bet my man you're gonna become a college coach. And I was like, okay. So throughout my playing career, because the assistants on that staff was Billy Taylor and Fran McCaffrey. Those were two of the assistants at Notre Dame when I was there. So Fran at the time, during the later part of my career, was coaching here at Siena, and he always remembered that. And every summer I would come home, he would say, you ready to make the move over? I got a spot on my staff. Come join the staff. And I was like, nah, man, that coaching thing ain't for me. And towards the later end of my career, I was living in Long Beach, and I was working with kids, training and doing stuff in the summertime and mentoring them on the recruiting process. And I was like, this might not be a bad idea at all. So when things transpired in 2009, and, I was fortunate enough, Coach Reed had a spot on his staff, and Fran gave me the recommendation, I was able to slide into that position. And it was one of those fortunate things where I had to come right in as an assistant. I didn't have to do like the Dobo job and the ops. So I was very blessed and fortunate, but I also knew that somebody had vouched for me, and I had skipped some steps. So I had to come in ready to work my ass off, to say. So that first week kind of getting there, and the crazy part was I got there in June and took my recruiting test, got that out the way, and I was in the office the first day with Coach Reed and Matt Logie, who used to be there at the time, and then they both went on vacation for a week. So, let alone I'm in the office with a first-year Dobo by myself, and it was just like, yo, we gotta get ready for July. Like, the previous guy who was there was a former player who had just graduated and was there for a year, but he was still in player mode. So he was hanging out with the guys and, keeping the relationships and chasing his girlfriend around. So it wasn't like he left me a list or anything to work on. So I was starting from scratch for a 3-man class with like 25 states to recruit. And he was just like, just get yourself ready and prepared, as most prepared as possible for this July recruiting period. And, I'm thinking like, not even formulating the Patriot League part. I know some kids that's nice, but then trying to get the transcripts and learn what the academic index is and all that stuff. For those who don't know, the Patriot League and Ivy League is different, man. You can't go in the gym and just recruit everybody. They got academic benchmarks that these kids got to hit, and you got to know that stuff going in so that you're not wasting a bunch of time in July going to watch games of kids that are not recruitable prospects for you. So it was a lot of work. Fortunate at that time, I was there by myself. My wife and my daughter hadn't made the move yet, so I was able to spend them 12, 13, 14-hour days just in the office, just making calls, getting film, getting transcripts, trying to get up to speed. But I think during that time, that's when they gained a lot of trust in me, because I was intrinsically motivated enough to really put in and do the work to get prepared for that July, to have a formidable list of kids to be involved with at that time.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So at least you survived it. That's the one thing. That's the one thing. We all know this. You talked about it heading into July, recruiting. We all know that's the lifeline of college athletics. You got to get good players, and you got to get good people if you want to be successful. And like you said, whether you're in the Ivy League or now you're in the MAC, it doesn't matter. You still got to do your homework early on these kids. A lot of intel beforehand. But talk about like your best and worst recruiting story.
One of my best was probably just, a player that turned out to be really good for us, Tim Kempton. Just the process was going through him, was familiar with the success his father had at Notre Dame. And when I went out to Arizona, he's playing at Brophy Prep out in Brophy was like kind of outside of Scottsdale, but here's this guy, 6'9", 6'10", a monster, and scores with both hands on the ball, very polished for a post player, like, had real post moves, could step out, shooting threes. But when I go to the game, his team wasn't very good. So they're like running him off of pin downs, and he's like curling and doing all the stuff that we never had him do when he got to college. But you couldn't throw him the ball on the block because he had to get triple teamed. But at that time, he got hurt in the summer. And, we had been in there a little bit. So it was one of those ones where it was just like, we knew he was good enough, but trying to keep him on ice for 2 weeks until he only played in the last week, the July big time tournament, which allowed us to kind of keep him under wraps and keep some of the wolves off until we were able to get him secured. That was probably one of the best stories. One of the strangest ones I was involved with was a kid from North Carolina. He ended up going on to have a successful career. He bounced around a lot, but do you remember the name Tyrone Outlaw?
I remember.
Okay, really talented player. He was at I think it's Pearson High School down in North Carolina, and had built a great rapport with him. He was a first weekend visit kid. We got him the first weekend of September. Him and his mother came out. We had a great weekend. It was Tim Kempton, Austin Price, him, and one other person that was in that class. I can't remember, but 4 guys that all went on to be 1,000-point scorers, multiple all-league guys. And he came, had a great visit on the weekend, and commits. Mother's there, crying, talk to the high school coach. Everybody's all excited. He leaves on a Sunday, great weekend. 4th person was Nigel Johnson. Nigel. So look at that class right there. For those from that was, if we could have got all 4 done, that was a great class. Nigel ended up going to K-State and then finishing out at Virginia and Rutgers, K-State, Rutgers, Virginia, but some high-level talent. But needless to say, Tyrone comes, has a great visit, commits, and that Wednesday or that Thursday, I see on Twitter, he takes another official visit. My man takes another official visit, so I'm seeing it on Twitter, and I'm calling. He's not picking up the phone. And then about 2 o'clock, he calls me back in the afternoon. I'm like, yo, T, what's going on, man? And he was like, oh, coach, I'm on this visit. Can I call you back later? And I was like, Ty, you committed. Why are you taking another visit? And he was like, man, I had told him I'd come before, so I'm just going to come again. Long story short, he goes to their school, commits that weekend, ends up going there. I had never been involved because now, Brett's looking at me like, yo, what just happened? Like, because we had called a bunch of kids on the list, told them, we were moving on and whatever, and took ourselves out with some prominent kids in this position and ended up backfiring on us because that class, I think we didn't end up getting another kid in that position until almost late October. So that ended up hurting and setting us back. But that was one of the strangest things I have ever been a part of. And it's different if a kid just comes by himself and commit. Like his mother was there with him and the high school coach, and then all of them went blank on me.
That's a crazy one. That's not a worst. That's just a crazy one. Wow. Oh man. Tone, like you like I said, you had a successful playing career. Now you've been with the family or without the family, but now you get into coaching. And I don't think people understand like this business, man. It's like when you play, you got your summers off. Like you work out, but you got your summers off and all that stuff. But when you coaching, man, it's not a whole lot of downtime. But like, what did you have to give up achieving your current level of success?
Like you said, man, it's really no free time. Once my family finally relocated we were living in Long Beach at the time. And when I first took a job at Lehigh, we only had one daughter. So once my wife and daughter relocated from Long Beach to Bethlehem, PA, fighting that just readjustment period coupled with no real downtime, that was a struggle, because my wife, is a Southern California girl. She's used to Southern California. Then you get the winters in Bethlehem, in the morning, she just looking at me sideways like, yo, where we at? What we doing? Let alone the fact that, the long days, you're in the office, and then you got practice, and then I'm leaving early in the morning for workout. So any free time I had, quote unquote free time or days off, you're still making phone calls. It wasn't like my undivided attention. That was an adjustment period for all of us, because even at that, having a little one when you're home, they think it's playtime and want to do whatever, and you want to give them some attention, but you're still trying to watch film, or you get this call, everything is always interrupted. I was still a hooper. I was playing all the time, and then I didn't have any free time to play. You'd be on the floor with guys doing workouts and things like that, but there was never no I couldn't just join a men's league and play, or get up and go in the morning and go play. At runs and things like that in the middle of the afternoon. So I had to give up really just playing to find that balance, to have quality family time and make this thing work, and fortunately, to be successful in this thing, you got to have a spouse that kind of understands it. I don't think anybody truly knows until you get into it. And, she had an idea, my wife and I met in college. So she's been through the, kind of ringers with it. We dated at Notre Dame, and she went through the 10 years playing overseas and being a part and coming out and seeing things. I think she had an idea, but she didn't know, physically living there and then me being gone or being distracted so much. That was an adjustment for both of us. And it took some time to get on a level playing field and understand it. But even to this day, November, she said, we were just talking about this the other night. She was like, November is always that struggle because, you're in games, you're traveling, you're doing whatever. She was like, July, I know, you're going to be going recruiting. I knew that month you were going to always, you're home. She was talking about back when it was the 3 weeks, Wednesday through Saturday or Wednesday through Sunday, and you fly back Sunday night, and she's like, oh, you're home for 3 days, but you're in the office all day doing workouts, doing workouts with your players Monday, Tuesday, flying out Wednesday morning. All you're doing is dropping off some laundry, repacking the bag, and leaving. So, like I said, all that is an adjustment, man. But just giving up, there's really, truly no free time in this. Even on vacations, you're still, got your phone and trying to shoot a text here, or, slide in a phone call here, or when you're sitting on the couch at night watching a movie, peeping over and trying to do this, so that's been an adjustment all the way around. But that in the free time, just to go hoop like I was accustomed to doing, was an adjustment for me.
All great stuff, man. I hope these guys listen to, people really listen to that. Now we know scouting. Scouting is huge, and we can always tell if you're a college basketball person and involved. Like I mean, there's games like I might be watching on TV or I'm looking at a scout, and I can always tell whose scout it is just because that coach is the most excited. He's jumping up. He's yelling and screaming. He's calling out plays. Like, it's just so much into it. You invest so much into your scout. Not saying that you don't coach when it's not your scout, but you always can tell that. You just take a lot of pride. You're a competitor. And we all know this, like, you could have your best scout report, know all the calls, know all the actions, and lose. You can have a so-called scout report, you didn't get any calls, you just told coach this kid has missed his last 25 shots from three, so he's really not a good shooter. Not saying he's not a shooter, but he's not a good shooter, and he goes out and knock down 3 or 4 in a row, and coach turning to you, basically saying and we all know what the is. And so what was your best and worst scouting report?
My worst one, I want to say, was 2014, I think it was. It was whatever year Lafayette won the Patriot League. And, Lafayette, Lehigh rivalries, we had all the calls. We knew the actions. We knew whatever. But we could not stop Tony Johnson. Like, the dude was never a shooter until we played. And it was one of them ones like, ball screen coverage, we're going to go under. We're going to pocket them here, soft show, whatever. And this dude was torching us. And not only was he torching us, he was telling us about it every time he came down the floor. And he was like, yo, you better switch this up. You better get him off me. And, you being that American, you coached against Lafayette. Dudes don't talk like that. But they was that comfortable where, they had that confidence, like, what we're doing and you still can't stop us. And it was just one of the ones where I felt helpless, like, damn, like, these dudes really got it going right now. When they're hot, I think they made like 13 threes or something that game, man. And it was just one of the ones where, you finally get him under control, but now he's making the right pass. And every closeout is late. And he's making threes with the contested hands. And dudes who, their main dudes wasn't scoring. It was all these other guys that was getting off on us. And that's one of the ones where it's like quicksand. One mistake becomes 2 or 3. Then guys start ad-libbing because they losing confidence in the game plan, and it was just like a sinking ship. You throwing guys in off the bench, and they ain't paying attention, making the same mistakes, and it was a very frustrating experience. But it was something that we learned from going forward. But that was one of in-league, rivalry game scout that just really ate at me because it was like, man, everything, but you still couldn't stop it at that time. One of the best scouts was probably I had a scout for the Duke game when we beat them in the tournament. And it was just one of the ones where the guys really locked in, committed. And it was funny because Brett and I were arguing back and forth up till the morning of the game. We were arguing back and forth. And it was very, they ran like that perpetual side pick and roll continuity at the time because they had Austin Rivers and Ryan Kelly and the Plumlee brothers and all that stuff. But they didn't have like the wrinkles like Fran O'Hallen and all of them run. So it was very just side pick and roll, get to the double side, somebody cuts back door. So I was like, we're going to switch that and leave somebody at the rim. But he wanted to keep like our guard, which was at the time was Mackie McKnight, like under the rim. And I was like, do you understand what Mason Plumlee jumps from? Like, he will jump over that dude like Hakeem Warwick did in the Texas game. So we argue back and forth, and if you actually watch the game, I think like 2 of the first 3 possessions, he gets dunks on that, taking off from like outside the dots. So we had to, go back and change some things or whatever. But dudes really locked in, man. They locked in defensively. They weren't scared. They came out, competed, and it led to probably, by far the biggest win in our school's history.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy because coaching against that team, it's 2 things I've called, actually 3, but I'm going to just say 2 because in the last 2, I said, you guys would beat Duke. People thought I was crazy. I said, because then they didn't know about C.J. McCollum. Trust me, I knew about C.J. McCollum. I knew about Mackie. I knew about Mackie Knight. Like, you just, when you have guards that plays well against Duke, that can drive it, beat it, because everybody, that defense they play, you get up on them. Because they get up on you, you can go by them. And as long as they're not taking charges or guys at the rim, you can score. And so I picked you guys, and like Middle Tennessee was the other one. They beat Michigan State. I mean, it's like when you coach against guys, I don't think guys understand how great the Patriot League was back then. And they didn't understand, like when I was at, how good Conference USA was with Middle Tennessee. So I definitely said that you guys would win that game just because your guard play was good. And you had some guys that could really, they were just complimentary guys that were really good. And you guys did a great job with that team. Just watching, we lost to y'all twice that year. But matter of fact, y'all beat us 3 times a year, I believe, because we played y'all in the tournament. So I just remember, I remember that very well. What's the biggest challenge you think you've experienced since you've become a college coach?
Initially getting in, I think the biggest challenge was fighting the stigma, not to be just a recruiter or the workout guy, trying to be a well-rounded head coach and first and foremost doing a great job where I was to make sure, my fellow coaches and Brett had the confidence in me to give me more responsibility, was, very thorough with my scouts, took more initiatives to do, other things within the program, from budget stuff to scheduling to, just trying to learn every facet of it to become a well-rounded coach. And then just making sure people didn't just see me as just a hooper, out there just, that really respected what I did. So it was like, perception is kind of reality. Sometimes people always see you and just try to judge you off of what they see. So I was just trying to make sure I present a professional front and that, I'm about my business. I'm an easygoing guy, to get along with people and, I got a fun spirit, but also don't mistake that for, not being able to get my work done. So that's been probably one of the things to fight. And then just, having been at some place, I was at Lehigh 10 years. And anytime you're in one place for that long, you have to fight complacency, not just doing things the way you've always done it or getting comfortable because, you won't grow. And our roster kind of changed and our makeup and thing of our teams changed throughout those years. So it kept me fresh because it was different challenges. Some teams were more talented than others. Some teams were too talented and underachieved. And it was just every year was something different that helped me grow as a coach.
Awesome, man. Awesome. You kind of said something, and I'm going to piggyback on it just to see what you think. Or do you ever find that there are things about you that people misunderstand? Like, what are
they? For the longest time, I do have an easygoing personality, but I wasn't like a big, like, you'll see it a lot. You used to see it a lot in July when guys go out and go recruiting. Some guys spend more time networking and trying to buddy up and get to people than actually watching games. That's never been my approach, never been my steez. I'm not standoffish in any way, shape, or form, but I wasn't never big on, like, if I know you, I'm cool. I chop it up with people I know, but I wasn't out like fishing for a lot of friendships and trying to network with everybody in the gym. Those who knew me knew I was, going to talk trash and have fun. So it was always a good time. But like I said, just making sure they had to, like, respect and knew that I do my job and was thorough in what I do. But, I think some people thought I might have been standoffish because I wasn't out just trying to get in everybody's circle, and things like that. That's never been my thing. I value relationships, but I'm an authentic, genuine dude. I'm not fishing to try to just be everybody's friend, but I do understand, having been in this business 10 years, that networking is the key to trying to make some things happen. So I have been more conscientious of that.
Great answer, man. Like you talked about it earlier. You played at Notre Dame, so you had some very good assistant coaches who became head coaches. And then so like you like learning from them, not just the basketball part, but the things off the court. And then you become a professional player, but now you're coaching. Like, what do you try to teach your players besides basketball?
Man, I wish basketball was all we had to teach, but it's just all walks of it, man. Really how to become a man, a good role model in life moving forward. I spend more time, I think coaches across the board spend more time on the other facets of the game than just basketball. I've everything from, first real relationship with a girl, you know, to a breakup, like what's going on with that, to you know, some guys, you know, move off campus and get that stipend check, and it's learning how to make a budget, open a checking account, how to write a check, you know, create a budget and pay bills. Some dudes is anxiety, you know, the pressure to perform, you know, that they don't really open up and talk about, or, you know, don't know how to mask their feelings. You know, some guys you're a father figure to, and it's just, you know, teaching them that, you know, especially, you know, as a college athlete, you know, the image that you portray and give off sometimes, you know, is even though it's unfair at times that people judge, you know, you got to always know that there's always eyes on you, man. So you got to watch how you conduct yourself and carry yourself in public, things you say, you know, because you represent more than just yourself. You represent that program, that university at all times, you know. So it's just teaching guys the value in that, and also to think bigger for themselves, you know. Don't just use this as just your 4 years of playing basketball. Like, what do you want for this? You hear it all the time in the Ivy League, you know, 40 years, you know, 40-year plan. What do you want from this? You know, you want to get your degree. What's life after basketball like? What are your ambitions? You know, when you leave here, you know, whether it was Lehigh or even leaving here now at Siena, you know, I want somebody that's ready to be successful in the world, you know, to be able to get a job and hold down an apartment or get a house and get a car and advance in life and be a, you know, contributor to society going forward, making a real impact, you know, and just seeing a big picture.
Awesome, man. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
You know, anytime you win a championship, you know, beating Bucknell at their place, that 2011-2012 season when we went on to beat Duke in that following game in the first round tournament. And you had alluded to it before. Like you said, I don't think people realize how good the Patriot League was at that time. We had 3 NBA players in the league, which people forget. You had C.J. McCollum, who went on to great success with us. You also had Mike Muscala at Bucknell. If either one of those wasn't going against each other, probably the other one would have won 4 straight titles, you know what I'm saying? But they split 2-2. And you had Malcolm Miller playing at Holy Cross, who just, you know, won a championship, but is in the rotation for the Toronto Raptors. You know, 3 players at that time who went on to not just be, you know, stars overseas, but, you know, NBA level players at that time in the same league. So that's a testament to, you know, the league was good at the time. The staffs had recruited great players. And even you guys at American, y'all had Vlad, who was a, you know, did he transfer from George Mason, I think?
Yeah, he was George Mason. And we always say this. The Patriot League had 3 of the 5 best players in the league ever at the same time. Yep. Vlad, CJ, and Mike Muscala. Those 3 of the 5 best ever. Like, that's pretty good.
That was yeah. But one of the best memories, like I said, was that kind of week period of going to Bucknell, because we had split in the regular season, so they got to host the championship, going and winning the conference championship on their floor, and then coming out the next game and going out and beating Duke down in Greensboro with, you know, a sold out arena and things like that. Those were probably 2 of my best coaching memories on the floor. And by far the worst was the 2015-16 season, in which we lost as a 2 seed. We lost the Patriot League title at home to the 9th seed Holy Cross, a team that had to play in the playing game to get to the tournament. The worst loss of my college career. Till this day, I still haven't watched that game because it's still just unbearable to watch. You know, it was 2 seed, everything fell in our favor. You know, Bucknell got upset on a overtime shot by Holy Cross, and they struggled to beat Army. We were 13th in the nation in 3-point shooting. You know, even though we only had 9 players, we were in the zone playing well. Get to that game, you can't hit anything, man. We went like 3 for 27 or something from the 3-point line. We lost 56-59. Their starting forward, who hit like, I don't know, maybe 25 threes on the season, go 6 for 7 from 3. Eric Green hadn't made a 3-pointer all year. He hits 2 threes at the buzzer, like at the end of the shot clock. Like, everything fell in their favor. And to lose a championship game, sold out. It was a nice day. It looked like game day. Like, they had tailgates outside. The university was behind it. Everything fell in our favor to have like that great signature win at home on your court, and to lose the game by 3. And we had 4 shots at the buzzer to tie it up, and none of them, and 4 different players, our top 4 dudes, Tim Kempton, Kyle Lefroy, Austin Price, Karan Ross, all got an attempt in the final 30 seconds and couldn't hit none of them, and we lost on our home court. in the worst upset. Man, to
Wow.
the day, he said me.
I remember watching that game too, so I wouldn't want to watch that game again either. That's a memory you don't erase.
Nah.
But what was the most stressful situation you think you faced?
Stressful. Everybody's had different levels of stress. I think one of my more stressful, I would just say, seasons, because it wasn't just one incident. It was dragged out throughout the course of the year. I would say probably about 3 or 4 years ago, we had a really talented team at Lehigh that ended up underachieving for the most part, and it was all due to 4 individuals that couldn't buy into being a team. You know what I'm saying? And that was just a constant headache because, especially as assistant coach, you're managing all the bullets, every game. If 2 players play well, the other 2 parents is, y'all trying to do my son wrong. Y'all favor these 2, y'all promoting them. He looking up all this, whatever. And, as an assistant, it's your job to keep that off the head coach's table. So every game, I went into the locker room and we would meet and we would address the team. And then I would have to stand in the hallway and just take a deep breath because I have to come out and confront anywhere from 2 to 3 sets of parents, win or loss, even if you win, that are upset about their son's numbers. And that just really took a toll on me. It just soured everything on because, no matter how much you work as a staff to try to keep players' minds right and keep them on the same page, at the end of the day, they still go home. Like, they're going to listen to mom and dad. They're going to talk to people in their circle, and that stuff infiltrates in their ear, and it permeates, and it starts to chip away at your culture because nobody's ever really 2 feet in. They're always a little bit concerned about themselves. And it kept us from a team that was by far, we were preseason favorites, number 1. I think we ended up finishing 4th and, lost in the semifinals. And it was just a long, trying year that it was one of those ones like you couldn't wait for the season to be over, and you never want to be like that. But it was one of those ones where nobody enjoyed playing with each other. And I had never experienced anything like that in my life.
Yeah, that's tough. And you said something. I'm going to say this. Note the people, assistant coaches, that's another hat. They deal with the families. Head coaches, the only time they'll tell you this, I don't deal with parents. I don't deal with handlers. Unless you want to talk academics. They don't deal with no playing time. It's just assistant coaches catch all the heat from that. So just so y'all understand, that's another hat that we wear as well. So
that's a very big hat. That's an underestimated hat. And parents have gotten more brazen and brave in these years. They just talk any old kind of way. Sometimes you got to no, don't let this coaching thing fool you. Like, don't try me.
So true. Like, what is the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
We had a kid at Lehigh, man. After we won the championship, he went, I didn't want to say missing, but because, Lehigh was on a mountain. The dude left the arena and walked in the woods for like 12 hours. We couldn't find him. Like, he gave us something about finding his soul, and I ain't gonna call him out because I don't want to put him on blast. It was somebody, if I told you who it was, you'd be like, oh, it made sense. But literally, the dude car was there. He left. He started, it's the long drive out towards back to the highway. And the dude just walked in the mountains and just continued walking. And we didn't find him till like the next day. Like, he walked back to the arena, when we started getting nervous and his car was there and we had called his room and, cell phone and doing everything to the point like we were about to get the campus police involved. And dude come back and he's got, tree shrubs. Like, he slept in the woods. Like, he slept in the woods after you won the championship. He wasn't depressed about nothing. That's just how he chose to celebrate. I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Wow. That's just a wow right there. Wow. Like you said, you 10 years at one place. You was at Lehigh with, the doctor. I love Dr. Brett Reed, man. He's a great guy. Now you work with, a longtime friend, 20 years, Carmen. But like, I've seen you enough. I think you got it to be a head coach someday. Like, you take something from Lehigh now in Siena. Like, what do you look for if you get your chance to become a head coach, what do you look for in a school? Like, what do you look for?
Everybody says you want to look for somewhere you can win or whatever, but I want to look for a place that I could believe in and that supports athletics as well as academics. Somewhere that's going to support the program, that has the same ambitions that I have. Wherever I'm at, most times you get a job, it's at the low major or bottom mid-major rung, so you're trying to turn that into like your own Gonzaga of the East or Midwest, South, or whatever. You want to be a perennial champion in that thing. So you want to go somewhere where I feel like I could be able to sell that school, sell what it has, and get the backing and investment into to give me the resources and the confidence to go out and succeed. I think there's a lot of players everywhere in the world. So, you have your core values and things that you want to recruit to, but, this is getting somewhere where I really believe in that school, what that school is about, what that AD is about, have a shared vision for success.
Awesome, man. And I'm going to ask this because, it is a big accomplishment, but it may be something different. Because you talked about the huge win over Duke in the NCAA tournament, but what's the biggest accomplishment you think you've experienced since you've been a college coach?
One of the ones I take the most pride in, and it was, like you said, it's not even a basketball one. A young man that graduated the year before last, Lance Tejada, we had at Lehigh, and recruited him coming out. It was actually us in East Carolina, and his final thing, a top 150 guard from Florida that came out. He ultimately chose East Carolina, and he was very straight up. He was like, I don't know if I want to do the work and whatever there. And went to East Carolina, didn't enjoy his 2 years there and transferred to us. But, when he got to Lehigh, the Patriot League was a different place. He wasn't used to the lack of diversity and different things. So it was like helping him through all that. But he really worked through a lot of demons that he had and things that he was going through personally trying to figure out. And he ended up doing a CBS special. And it was something that was 2 years in the work. For CBS Sports, talking about his battles with anxiety and depression and opening up and really getting help about it, that allowed him to play freely for his 2 years there and get back to enjoying basketball. Because it was to the point, he didn't know if he wanted to play. He had breakdowns, couldn't sleep, different things like that. So it was really helping him through that. Talent in basketball was the last things that we ever spoke about, but we spoke daily just about the mental part of it. And he understood his struggles, but working through that and finding the confidence to share it nationally, where it became a national story, that the university and everybody got behind, because, mental health is a big part of college athletics that kids are afraid to talk about or don't want to be, labeled with. And it was something that, he felt confident enough that really springboarded a lot of things that happened for him after college, a lot of success that's happened for him. And that was probably one of my prouder things, because I was able to work for him for years through that and been able to benefit him to this day.
Awesome, man. This is gonna be kind of different. Like, what movie or TV title best describes your week?
Best describes my week? Friday, baby. Every day Friday for me. I like to enjoy life, man. I like to enjoy life. This pandemic has been different. Everybody's your way of life has changed, but it's, I'm fortunate enough. My wife is still working from home. She works upstairs. I work downstairs. I have two beautiful daughters, 12-year-old and 10-year-old. They're done with school now. So it's, just finding stuff to keep us busy each day. But, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's a Zoom call, watching film, I like to enjoy life, man, and bring light to anything that's going on and try to enjoy it. And, I'm doing silly stuff all the time, trying to break up the monotony of just, having the same routine each day. Been fighting to try to keep my wife out the transfer portal, man. So it's been good so far. She ain't left me yet. My kids they tired of me. They used to me being gone about this time. So, but I would say, man, it sounds funny, but Friday to me, man, enjoy life, man,
Awesome. And you hit it right on the head, because I know my wife used to always say, time for you to go yet? They're so used to you being away. When you're home too long, it's like, yo, aren't you, isn't it time for you to leave? I trust me, I get it. What's your favorite word or phrase?
Let's see. That's a good one. I mean, favorite word is probably just perseverance. I use it a lot. It applies to every walk of life. I tell kids every time, when you get to college, you're going to struggle at some point, whether it's academically, athletically, socially, emotionally, something. So you got to find the strength to persevere through that. I've experienced multiple setbacks in my career, so it's been a big part of, just who I am, my core, fighting through the good times and the bad times to, stay level and keep confidence in yourself. I don't have a favorite saying offhand. Damn, it's gotta come to mind.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this: what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Man, be good at the job you have. The current job you have is your audition for your next job. It applied to me when I was playing overseas, because when you're over there, you always worry about your next contract. And it was like, the job you got is your audition. So be good at the job you have. You know what I'm saying? Be good at what you're doing, enjoy what you're doing. And that will set the tone for the next opportunities that come. And that stayed true in every facet of, my life thus far.
Awesome, man. Like, what does success mean to you?
That's different for everybody. Man, success to me, it's not always going to be wins and losses. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be, are we making this sustainable progress that I want during that journey, whether it's the season, that summer, whatever, am I enjoying it? Are we getting desired result? Am I really making an impact in these young men's lives that we're working with day in and day out, man? And the impact could be different for all 15 players on that team. Some might just be on the court. Some may be academically. Some may be, mentally. Am I making that impact that I set out, and really got into coaching for, with that person during that journey?
If you had to, you're not a sub promoter, I know that. So long, man, I realize it's been, that's 11, 12 years now. If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
Let's see, 3 adjectives. Persistent. I think I'd say charismatic. I think I could go into any situation and blend into. And, I'm very committed and dedicated, to whatever I set my mind to. It kind of goes along with persistence, but, no matter what the setbacks are, once I'm locked in on something, I'm gonna see it through.
Awesome, man. Like, what qualities do you value in the people with whom you spend time with?
Humbleness. I can't be around a lot of egocentric people, man. That drives me crazy. The me people. Humbleness. Genuine people. I like just real people. I'm a very black and white person. I don't like to operate in gray areas. I don't like to have you to try to infer what I was talking about or what I meant. I like people who are, very much like that. And, honest people, man, like integrity and honest people, that those are the people kind of I enjoy being around. Those are the type of kids I enjoy recruiting. That's the type of staffs I enjoy working on. That's kind of where my personality fits and I'm most comfortable with.
What person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
That would be my parents, my mother and my father. I was a single child. Well, I'm my mother's only child. Parents had me young. Parents had me in high school. Neither one of my parents, I'm 42, neither one of my parents are 60 yet. So, growing up with young parents, just my father just really teaching me, about being a man, having a child young, being responsible, finishing through on your responsibilities. And he's been probably my biggest critic coming out through high school and college, and he was also my greatest supporter. It's likewise with my mom. They're both very opinionated, stubborn people, which is why I get some of that from. But they've had me through thick and thin, through everything. Funny story, my freshman year, I signed at Notre Dame. I go to Notre Dame. I started like 16 games or something like that my freshman year, but it was our first year at the Big East. It was the first year Notre Dame had joined the Big East, like 11 and 20 or something like that. I'd never lost that many games in my whole high school career. So I come home from the Big East tournament, and I'm home for about a week. And my dad thought I was on spring break. So he goes, yo, when you going back to school? And I was like, I'm not. I'm transferring. It's like, hell, you mean you're not going back to school? And I was like, yeah, man. Notre Dame, they ain't let me rock like I want to. This ain't the place for me. Whatever, whatever. He said, all right, this is what's going to happen. He was like, you're going to take your butt back to school. You're going to finish this semester, and then we could talk about it in the summer. I was like, all right, cool. So I go back in, and I was like, he was like, I want you to go pack your stuff. So I go in and pack, and he comes in, and I thought he was giving me a plane ticket. This dude bought me a train ticket from upstate New York to South Bend, Indiana. 13 hours, brother, 13 hours. He said, I'd be damned if I'm going to spend money on a plane ticket for a dumbass decision you made. You're going to sit your butt on this train and appreciate the opportunity that you have. But that was real, you know, in today's time, a lot of parents would just side with a kid and be like, yo, you know, yeah, they tripping. So that's the people I come from.
That's real good stuff right there, man. I love that. Knowing what you know now, like, what would you tell your younger self, to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Just the grind, man. Like, people don't, they see the game days and the suits and whatever, and they don't understand the grind that it is, you know. And it's, as a former athlete, you appreciate that because you've been there before. You know, your whole college career is a grind, from the early morning workouts to the extra lifting sessions, the film, and all that stuff. Like I said, my mentality, I thought they was crazy for the amount of stuff that they did at that time. But seeing it and going through it, I think better prepared me for the grind of this job, you know. And like you said, you got to have that same, you want to have the aspirations to be a professional and play overseas or make it to the NBA, you got to be committed to your craft. You know, you want to have longevity in this business, or, you know, move up the rank to, you know, be at a Power 5 school or be a head coach. You got to be committed to your craft. It's the same thing, man. You got to put in that time and really embrace that grind. So
true. People don't understand that, man. But, you know, Tone, I want to thank you again, man, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything you want to leave with the people before we go?
No, man. I think, you know, this is some strange times for the world right now, and you know, we don't know when we're getting back to school or doing anything, but, you know, I think the platforms like this, where people are getting just to learn more about the business and us as people, you know, instead of just seeing us as coaches on TV, learning about, you know, the profession, the business, you know, I think this is a great thing, man. So I really applaud you for taking the time to do this and set this up, man. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I appreciate you, man. And you know what? I want to thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we unmask them. See you next time, and stay safe.